Hi, can I help you? Did you need something? Hello YouTube, what is up? It is Haley here. Welcome back to my and Rick's channel. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd, and I am 14 weeks and 6 days pregnant today, which means that I am almost officially 1 whole week into my second trimester, which has been so great because my first trimester was absolute garbage. And I figured now that I am out of the woods and I have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, I would kind of do a first trimester wrap up for you guys and tell you guys all about my experiences with different symptoms and how I handled everything, how my body reacted to everything. Just so for those of you who might be going through it now, know what to look for, and who knows, maybe some of you can relate. So let's just jump right in. So I pretty much had every symptom that comes with your first trimester, which is not fun. I don't think there's any symptoms at all that people enjoy in the first trimester. So I guess I was just unlucky there. My first symptom that I experienced was before I even knew I was pregnant by like a couple days. I started to get really bad cramps, which I thought at first were period cramps, which I was clearly wrong. But they were a little different. They were a lot sharper and like kind of longer lasting, and they were, I think, more acute and painful to the point where, like, I remember I would wake up in the middle of the night and be like, ow, why am I cramping right now? That pain, it turns out, is actually pretty normal and common. It's from the uterus expanding, obviously, because it's gonna grow pretty big over the next 9 months from conception in order to grow a baby, a human, a fetus. So that's what that pain was. It was just the very beginning stages of my uterus contracting and beginning to grow. My next symptom was nausea, and that was pretty interesting just because my mother and my sister both had pretty serious horror stories about morning sickness. And from what I've read and understand, morning sickness is typically hereditary. It's in your family. If your mother had it, you'll probably have it, etc. And both my mom and my sister had it really badly. So I was like, that should be fun. And for a few shining moments, I was like, ooh, maybe I'll be lucky enough to not get that, because, you know, I was a couple days to like a week-ish after finding out that, that I was pregnant and I hadn't felt anything. And then one morning I woke up and Rick came and woke me up and said good morning, and I just kind of looked at him and I said, uh-oh. And he goes, what was wrong? And I just looked at him and I said, I feel nauseous. And that was the very beginning of the morning sickness. It got a lot worse from then on out, to the point where I would be in bed for days at a time, only really getting up to attempt to eat, to try and puke. That was the interesting thing, is that I really didn't throw up. It was mostly just nausea, but nausea that wasn't bad enough to actually get me to puke, if that makes sense. Which was actually kind of worse, because a lot of times when, like, this might be TMI, but when you're nauseous, a lot of times what helps is just getting it out of your system and throwing up. That wasn't a thing. The only times that I could really actually throw up would be when I was in the car, because I've always suffered from car sickness to some degree. When I was a little girl, oh my gosh, road trips were a nightmare because I just got it so easily. And I remember we were driving to Arizona to tell Rick's family and my mom the news, and oh my god, within an hour I was puking my brains out. So the car was always a surefire way to get me to throw up. But I think I can count on one hand the actual amount of times that I threw up from the nausea, but it would wake me up at like 3 in the morning, just so bad that I would just be in tears because I felt so sick. It's not a fun feeling for anybody. And that went on for a while. That continued up until my first prenatal appointment at 9 weeks, and my doctor asked how I was feeling, and I told her, I'm like, I'm so sick. And she was like, well, do you want something for it? And she prescribed me promethazine, which saved my life. It was just a complete turnaround to the point where I could like be a human again and like work and clean and cook. So that was a really nice change to kind of take the edge off of the morning sickness for the last few weeks. Now it's pretty much gone, which is awesome. I still get nauseous every once in a while. Like if I go too long without eating, it'll just hit me out of nowhere, like to the point where I'll be completely fine, and 5 seconds later I'm like, wow, I actually might throw up right here. So I just need to remember to eat as often as possible to keep that feeling away, and of course to feed the peanut. Speaking of eating, I didn't really have any serious cravings or aversions, except for the sweet and salty thing. If I were one or the other, I was salty all day long. Like, I could only really stomach certain foods because everything else made me want to throw up. But like ramen, like sriracha chicken instant ramen, I had like 3 of those a day. Oh my gosh, my sodium intake was like probably through the roof, but it's one of the few things I could stomach. But like sweets, I think I like had ice cream once throughout my whole first trimester. Sweets had very little to no appeal to me. So that wasn't really a thing, but yeah, I didn't really have any specific cravings. Like lately it's been a little bit more like jalapeno chips. Oh, all day long. I love jalapeno chips, and I love them even more now that I'm pregnant. But I haven't really been like, oh my God, I need this. So it's been kind of nice. I'm sure that'll change down the road. Although now that I think about it, I've been eating a lot of mac and cheese, so I guess that counts. Next up is peeing constantly. Oh my freaking God. I still do. That symptom has not gone away. It started really, really early, which was a really big surprise for me. This is my first pregnancy, and I always thought that you don't really start to pee a lot until you're later on in pregnancy, because then your uterus is heavier and it's pressing on your bladder, and I thought that's what made you want to go more. Turns out that's not really true. I mean, it is true, but earlier in pregnancy you get that as well. I think from what I understand, it's supposed to ease up into the second trimester. I'm really looking forward to that. But because your body is producing so much more blood, it's making your organs work harder, it's making your heart pump faster, it's making your kidneys work harder, which in turn is flushing out your urine at a faster rate. So you might have to feel like, oh my God, I gotta pee now, and then you go and you like barely pee. But I'm also feel like I'm drinking a lot more water, which in turn adds to the whole peeing thing. So yeah, I don't remember the last time I slept through the night. I mean, like quite literally from like 6 weeks, I was waking up at least once, if not twice a night to go to the bathroom, and I still do. So I guess that's preparation for the peanut. Next symptom is fatigue. I was exhausted so early on. It's a lot better now. I'm finally getting my energy back, which feels really, really good. But I would be ready for a nap by noon. Like, I would be up for a few hours and just be exhausted. And that's pretty common, just because your hormones are so high, and again, your body's working so hard to grow this baby that it naturally just tires you out. And between that and also the medication that I was on for morning sickness, there is a side effect of fatigue from promethazine, so I think that contributed to it as well. I would literally take it and then within an hour be like zonked. So it really feels good to have my energy back and feel like a normal human again, so that's nice. Next is breakouts, which if some of you have followed me from my gaming channel, I'm sure you will find that to be hilarious. But yeah, they say that pregnancy is either really good for your skin and you're glowing, or it totally just sucks all of it out of you and you just break out, and that was totally me. In fact, I think I don't know if you can really see, but I still kind of am up in my forehead. I was getting really bad breakouts, especially right here along my cheekbone, below my cheekbone I should say. Like I said, on my forehead, and then on my back too, like on my shoulders. Oh, it was exhausting and just annoying, you know, because I would just wake up in the morning and like, I'm not doing anything different. My skincare routine's still the same. This isn't fair. But you know, baby does what baby does, and that's just part of the deal. So that's like I said, I'm still getting it a little bit now, but it's calmed down somewhat. So hopefully it clears up fully soon. Next is probably my boobs. God, my boobs. Super sensitive, grew a lot really fast. Even Rick was like, he would look at me and be like, babe, your boobs, they're huge. And that's just like, well, that's kind of what happens when you're growing a baby. Very sensitive, just in general. And my dog, Vala, will like walk all over me sometimes, and she would step on it, and it's like, ow, stop. Still somewhat sensitive, but that was really, really annoying to have to like, I was sleeping with bras on to help, which I still kind of do as well. They say it can be a helpful thing to do to keep your boobs from being too sensitive, because yeah, that was not a fun side effect. Still not too fun. I think one of my least favorites, aside from the nausea, is probably the indigestion. Oh my God. If you account, like, I mean, when I say indigestion, I mean everything. I mean bloat, I mean gas, I mean burping, I mean all of it. I would just, I constantly, even still, I feel like a whale just because I'm so bloated from, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the salt intake and all that, but it's pretty natural for indigestion to be a pretty big symptom for your first trimester for a lot of women. And the gas pains, man, brutal. They're still pretty brutal, where I'll just like come home at the end of the day or I'd lay down in bed and just lay on my side and just wait for it to pass, and I wouldn't be able to like speak because I'd be in so much pain. And I've always been kind of susceptible to gas pains, but this has just like intensified it, which is so not fun. So that's, like I said, hopefully passing a bit more now. But yeah, nobody likes that part. And I just don't like feeling so just bloated and in pain. No one likes that. And then lastly, and I say this one for last just because it's only affected me for the last couple weeks and it hasn't been that bad. I think that's probably gonna change, is heartburn. I've never had heartburn before up until now, and Tums are a lifesaver, but you know, even just like laying down, if I'm laying down flat, forget it, I get heartburn immediately. If I am propped up somewhat, then I still get it a little, but it's not as bad. And I know that once you're like midway through pregnancy, you're not supposed to be laying on your back at all anymore. So that's probably gonna change in the next few weeks. But the heartburn's not fun, man. It's really not. It's just like a constant literal burn just sitting on your chest. And unless I take Tums, there's really nothing I can do about it. So that kind of sucks. But I've really only been getting it at night for a little while before I fall asleep. So I guess it could be worse if it were like all day heartburn. So yeah, I'm glad that it's not as bad as some other women seem to have it. That's one of the few symptoms that has not been too bad. And I think that's it off the top of my head. I think my overall consensus of the first trimester was that it was garbage. I absolutely hated it. Everyone's like, oh, pregnancy's so beautiful, enjoy it. And I'm like, wow, I'm literally hating my life. I can't get out of bed, I'm so sick. So I'm starting to like get past all the bad negative stuff and really feel good. From what I understand, the second trimester, I've literally heard people use the phrase, it's a breeze. So I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm hoping that this last remnants of nausea will hopefully leave soon, and that I'll be feeling a lot more like myself. I think that was one of the hardest parts, was just not feeling like myself. And I finally do again. I finally can, you know, do things and be productive. I say that with a grain of salt because my first trimester was extremely uneventful up until the very last day. Literally 13 weeks, 7 days. I ended up staying in the ER for a few days with what I was diagnosed with as a subchorionic hematoma. And I'm gonna make another video after my ultrasound on Thursday to kind of go more into what happened and what I experienced, to give you guys more details, because that was a really scary day and was, long story short, I'm pretty much on bed rest for now, for at least a couple weeks, which is horrible timing because we're like right smack in the middle of a move. But I'm hoping that my doctor will have some good news on Thursday to show that I'm healing properly. And like I said, I'm gonna make another video that explains more about what happened, my experience with it, for any mamas out there who have also experienced it and are maybe looking for some answers. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, other than that, like last day craziness, my first trimester was pretty uneventful, full of lots of icky, gross side effects. But I'm really looking forward to my second and hopefully feeling a lot better and continuing to improve. Hopefully getting back into an exercise regimen once I'm off bed rest. I'm a very active person. I like to be walking and outside and doing things. And I literally can't even walk my dog right now. So I'm looking forward to healing, hopefully as soon as possible. Getting the move really going, because Rick and I are moving to Arizona. Rick is literally moving at the end of the week. I'm moving towards the end of January. I'm sorry, end of February. I'm moving towards the end of February, and just kind of getting life started and getting, you know, settled and start to nest and get the nursery ready. So lots of good things to look forward to in the second trimester. So here's to that. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Mwah.